What's up, everybody? Josh and Jay back with the same show, the America is Blue podcast, where we break down the latest Chelsea disappointments this week in all competitions. So without further ado, Jay, I'm actually just going to toss it right over to you because I usurped the situation last week because I was so enraged. But I'm going to go ahead and stick to my guns and pop it over to you for the first word on the match today.
So are you kind of with us now? Like the rage is just it's futile. There's no point in even being mad anymore.
We're just part of who I am now.
We're just resigned to the beatings.
Yes.
Another riveting display of Potter ball. It was exciting. I'm glad I wasted that many hours of my day. Dude, yeah, I'm resigned to the fact that as long as this manager is at the helm, that we are and will continue to be pathetic. And that just is what it is. So I come into these matches with very low expectations. They live directly up to that level of expectation. And this is where we're at. We are 3-4-11 in our last 18 matches in all comps. 3-4-11. And we haven't gone up against the best of the best. We've had a couple of top sides in there, but there's been a lot of the Aston Villas and Bournemouths and Crystal Palaces. And what's sad, and we've mentioned this, is just, it's one thing for the guys who've been here, who've had to deal with a lot of turmoil and turbulence going through the offseason, everything that happened at the end of last year. It's another thing that we're bringing in guys who are buying in, who are coming in looking to prove something, and they're in the same gutter. Their level, their standard of play has come down so much, so quickly, and the confidence is just gone from everybody. So it's sad, man. And it's not going to change until they decide to pull the trigger and get rid of this guy. So this is where we're at.
Yeah, man. It's just unacceptable at this point. It really is. And we've heard the reports and people saying stupid stuff about threatening his family and doing all this stuff. There's just no place for any of that stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. But he is a shitty manager, at least from this perspective. And he seems like a really lovely person. And I don't wish the guy any ill will personally. I just wish he wasn't my manager. And that's just how I feel about it. It's really, really, really exhausting watching these games because, again, in the first half, the 70% possession and all this other stuff, Spurs had the better chances. I mean, they definitely did. We don't look like we want to be adventurous enough to either pop in a cross or attempt something that's actually dangerous. Again, we have this cycle of where we look like we have to pass the ball into the net. Like it's a game of like you have to pass it by everybody to get it into the net. And we just aren't good enough. We don't have the skilled players. Where's Kai Havertz? Again, another pedestrian, nothing performance. All these guys are completely getting lost in the wash. He's putting out I think a much better back four. And I think Enzo's been, playing great in the midfield. But what are we doing up front? Joao Felix is absolutely the guy that I'm now expecting him to be, the guy that just doesn't have enough to finish. He's flopping and falling all over the place. I remember Graham Lasso during the game, he said, he better realize that this isn't Spanish football. This is the Premier League. And it's completely evident in everything that he does. The guy hits the turf more than anybody else on the pitch. And yeah, after a while, to me, that sort of style of play just grinds on me, especially with the team and the level of form that it's in. So the word is just unacceptable. That's where we're at. But unfortunately for us, we know that Graham Potter's going to get a big vote of confidence and everyone's going to say that everything's fine. And, we still believe we got to give him the opportunity. And he's going to say that he hasn't done enough. And he's going to say all the right things where everybody, feels bad for him personally. But we have to get somebody with the commensurate managerial acumen to run this club. There's too much experience. There's too much young talent. We have actually a really nice mix of players. And you got to do more because you have a lot.
The guy's just not a leader of men. And I think we're starting to see a little bit more of his colors come out. There were some legitimate reasons as to why we weren't playing up to the standards that we are accustomed to. That is not 10th on the table. That is like if you slip down to maybe 6th or 7th for a spell, or you have a bad run of form. that stuff happens. But when you come into your press conferences and you say all the right things, it's on me, and then you just go ahead and deflect the blame to whatever the hot excuses for the moment. Now it's that the preseason was a mess. Now, then it was the injuries. It's always been something. And I think that as a fan base, we would take to a bad run of form or maybe not playing as polished or as sharp as we want and expect our team to play. But we're not even close to that.
We're not even scoring goals.
We're not even close. We can't
even score goals.
We're making terrible mistakes. And dude, even our best players. Forget about the new talent that came in. I mean, they need time to acclimate and get all that. But Reece James played like shit today. Chilwell played like shit today. The guys who we know are really, really exceptional footballers. Everybody is being just dragged down. Everybody. There's not one player. I think Enzo had some moments today. He's the only one that you can see, even though I didn't think he had a great game either. He's the only one that will at least show you moments where you're like, oh, there's vision. There's somebody who's trying to make something happen. He's the only guy on the field today who I think was worth his salt, and it still wasn't that good. But how can you expect these guys to get up for these games when this is the manager who's leading you? You just can't. And it's the same shit, right? Even if he gets the lineup okay, fair enough. How do you put Hakeem Ziyech back in the game after what happened?
We're lucky to
He was a centimeter away from a red. A centimeter away from a red. And I didn't think it should be a red, honestly. But regardless of that, he was a centimeter away from getting a red. Why wouldn't you just take him off? He wasn't adding anything anyway. Why wouldn't you replace him immediately after you get out of the dressing room? And it's once again, we go into the dressing room. That guy has his chance to put his stamp on the team for what we're supposed to do in the second half. And we come out and we look lethargic and like shit. It's the same thing. Then the substitutions come in and they're all wrong. He can do no right because he's always wrong. And it is his fault. It's not like it's just like the players aren't playing for him. We need to make some moves on the pitch. The players are good players. They're out there. I know they want this. They just can't bring themselves up to do it in this environment. And we're stuck, man. We're just stuck in the mud.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish we would score. I could almost.
You're asking too much. You're asking far too much. I
could take a 3-2 loss or something like that, but it's just the levels of effort, the quality and level of players that we have out there on the pitch. There's just no excuse to not score. And at this point, it is becoming a running joke. I feel like we are the worst team in global sports. I hate it. We are terrible. Our record is horrendous with this guy. And I mean, think about it. Coming off the double wins against AC Milan, I mean, we were all like, okay, hey, maybe this guy is something. This could be great. Wow, man, geez, the whole sheepishness. Yeah, maybe there's something really under the hood there. But we thought we were looking at a V8, and right now we got like some Hyundai 1.6 liter engine in there, just putting along like a go-kart. So we need somebody who can be a real engine in our machine room, and we can say it till we're blue in the face. We don't have the guy, but we know that we're going to get that same supportive message because I don't think that we're going to deviate from it as an organization.
My question just becomes, what is it going to take? We've been saying it on here to get rid of this guy for what feels like months now, but what is it going to take? Like, do you have to get down to the brink of relegation before you finally decide, you know what, this isn't working out? It's already not working out. And you can see it with the way that it's not that the players are going out there and putting it all out there. It's not that you're getting their best effort and their best performances, and it's just not quite fitting together yet. Everybody looks like shit. Everybody looks disinterested. And you've refreshed the squad. You've brought in new players. We've seen some spark initially, and then it's right back down. It's the same shit. So it's like you got somebody in the front office just has to be like, all right, I know we came out and we said we want a sustainable project. We want continuity. We all want that as fans.
Of course we do.
But that hope and dream, that desire to have that, the fact that you put yourself out there saying that this was the vision for the club, can't be more important than the right decision. Right? You could just admit that you were wrong on this one, get rid of the guy, bring in Frank Lampard. I'm sure he would be willing to do a cameo appearance just to bring like a little bit of the Chelsea pride back into this club. Maybe he'll start getting more out of Mason Mount, who loves him to death, and they have an amazing relationship. Maybe we can get him back on track. Reece James loves him. He brought him up to snuff. Maybe that's a galvanizing force that we can use to bring this together and at least right the ship this season. All expectations and things that we were hoping for are gone. Let's at least just start playing better football going into the summer so we can retool. And then whoever the manager choice is going to be moving forward, that'll be the time to make the decision. But we can't continue on this path, dude.
No,
I don't know what it's going to take.
But I mean, I don't know either. And this is the part what makes it so frustrating. And what's interesting is, of course, there's a League Cup final today. We're the only match that's on Sunday this week. We have to see what's going to happen over the course of the next 2 days. Because if they're going to sack him, I mean, to your point, how long is the rope? What is the standard now? Because no one knows what it is. And no one supports Todd Boehly more than us. But sooner or later, you have to put a line in the sand and say that this just isn't acceptable. We have to part ways. And, we haven't even talked about the game at all because I think it's a completely worthless. It's a worthless enterprise. Giving up the goal, early was just terrible. And then, what sealed it all for me? Hand of God again, sitting in there. My mother's visiting this weekend. She's sitting on the couch, and I stood up and I said, they're scoring on this corner. He whips it in, boom, it goes in, and then I just headed right down and just jumped on the Peloton because I knew I was just going to have to, ride myself into submission so I could at least not throw things while I was on the podcast. So shout out to Peloton for making me tired enough to not scream and yell on today's show.
Yeah, I'm over the screaming and yelling until there's a change. There has to be a change, and then maybe my expectations can go back to being close to hopeful. Until then, man, I expect that we're going to go in. I expect it's going to be flat. We may come out and start playing well, but the second there's the slightest hint of adversity, whatever it looks like, we're finished. We're finished. There's no gumption.
There's no sign that we're going to score. There's no sign that we're really threatening and turning the screw and really putting the pressure on. I mean, everything was so much effort. And then when we got the ball wide, it's like 3 Spurs defenders are out there. Then it's like boop, 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 all the way back out. And it's the same boring brand of football. Then Joao Felix tries to dribble a couple of times and play an intricate pass in between 4 guys. And, yeah, we look like we're more interested in passing the ball into the net than we are generating crosses, putting something on the frame, making the goalkeeper work. Maybe we can get a spill or a rebound or something. But no one has the gumption or the thirst to score. It seems like we're just trying to keep the ball. It's a game of keep away instead of score in the back of the other team's net.
Yeah, dude, if it's not a 0-0 draw, we're not securing a point at this point. We're not. That's just the way it is. And that's what we're playing for. This is Potter ball. This is what and honestly, what did they and everybody expect? This is what we saw at Brighton. Brighton was devoid of goals forever. They put up a run of form for, what was it, maybe 6 games at the beginning of the season where they looked good, and all of a sudden their manager is godly. And he's not. They just started the season hot. And honestly, like, if we're going to give them credit for him being a manager who had done more with less, I'm going to attribute that more to their front office, who seem to have been a pretty reliable source of identifying young, inexpensive talent, bringing them in, and then being able to capitalize on it. I think it has a lot more to do with that than what he was actually doing with X's and O's on the pitch and getting these guys to believe. Because the expectation there was so damn low also. Just try not to let them score. Just try to be stout. Maybe we come out with like a 1-1, maybe a 0-0. And even then, they had runs of form where they were winless over like 10, 11 games. That was Brighton. We are Brighton. We are Chelsea, Hove Albion. That's who we are.
We're Brighton North now. That's what Chelsea is. Brighton North.
Yeah. That's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah, good times. So, you know what, man? I don't think that we're going to be giving out the Man of the Match award, but we always do have to give a shout out to All Out Fitness. And at All Out Fitness, they are empowering individuals to be their best selves. Jay, do you want to take an attempt at Man of the Match, or are you going to reserve your decision for the next time we win as well?
I've given a Man of the Match for, I think, every cast,
yes,
including you. I'm not giving it to you this week. You sucked.
I wasn't good enough. I haven't done enough.
No,
I haven't done enough.
You didn't do enough. You didn't do enough for the club. So it's on me. No, I'm gonna join the club for at least this week. What I really hope for, man, I hope that come next week, no matter what happens at Leeds, I hope in the interim something occurs, and I will give Man of the Match to Mr. Bowley for shit canning this guy. That's what I'm really hoping for. But for today, dude, everybody was absolutely atrocious. There's no one that deserves it. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I admire you holding out, man, doing the right thing. Finally, you don't do it a lot. You don't make a lot of great decisions. You're bad at them.
Showing some integrity.
You're just bad at them. So, all right, man. To your point, we got Leeds at the Bridge on Saturday, March 4th. That's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States of America. Until then, we will be back with maybe a preview show, maybe a he's out show, highly doubtful, or there's a huge support behind him show. So we're gonna keep you guys guessing, but I'll tell you one thing: we are appreciative of everybody who follows us, everybody who listens to every single show, following us, slamming us the likes on YouTube and Instagram. We really appreciate the support. Until we talk to you guys next time, America is indeed blue. Let's go, Chels.